Hello and welcome to the BBZ. Alrighty, welcome everybody to the second official episode of the BBZ. Last episode was well received. I got a lot of compliments about it, and I just want to say thank you. The rebranding was a success, and we're ready to continue. This is awesome. I'm really excited to be doing another episode. So, some topics for today are life on Mars, the possibility of life actually existing on Mars, or could it just be, misreadings in the data? Giant squid caught on camera for the second time in history. And our last topic, burglar flings poop at judge. So, to start her off, life on Mars. So, this past Wednesday, the NASA Curiosity rover, which is stationed on Mars and has been since 2012, detected a methane spike in the atmosphere. It went from roughly 7 parts per billion to 21 parts per billion. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but if you think about it, that is quite a significant jump. That's 3 times the previous spike, which was in 2013. Now, what does this spike signify? Like, why is methane so important? Well, because microbes here on Earth that survive without oxygen produce methane as a byproduct of their metabolism. And this methane obviously floats into the atmosphere and stuff like that, but on Mars, this isn't just methane. This is a possible sign that life could be existing beneath the surface. And if so, that means we've discovered aliens in our own backyard, which is kind of incredible. Like, now, scientists are speculating that this could be caused by that this spike in methane could be caused by geothermal reactions, which would mean that there isn't any life on Mars. But as far as we know, there's no proof that favors either side. There's just as much of a possibility that methanogens, which are the microbes that thrive in oxygen-deprived environments, it favors the methanogens as well as the geothermal reactions. So, I mean, there's no guarantees yet. We're probably gonna have to wait another, I'd say 5 to 10 years before we fully know whether or not there are any sort of aliens on Mars. And obviously these aren't the aliens we think of when we think of aliens. These are stuff we can't even see with the naked eye. This is just microbes. It's the same kind of bacteria that would live in our gut. Now, the first signs of methane on Mars were discovered in 2002 by satellites, by the first satellites that were orbiting Mars. And scientists back then put off the idea that methane could be present on Mars due to the tech of these satellites being so inaccurate and ancient. And that's a reasonable assumption. Back in 2002, we didn't really have high-tech equipment, and errors in the data were quite prevalent. Not just with Mars, with numerous different space-related things. Now, one thing that I've been quite fascinated with, and it isn't super known, but it's the Fermi paradox. And the Fermi paradox basically says that if we haven't discovered aliens yet, that's a good thing. But if we have, it's actually a very bad thing if we discover aliens. And even worse would be to discover intelligent aliens. But not intelligent aliens, the remnants of intelligent aliens. Now, the Fermi paradox, it basically depicts a series of challenges that all life must go through. And the first one is known as the intelligence stage. And basically, it says that all life must reach this point, and if they pass it, it means they now qualify as intelligent life. So obviously, humans have passed this point. It is up for debate whether primates, such as monkeys and orangutans, have passed this point as well. I say they haven't, just because there's still so many things they can't do. And if we are saying that we are intelligent life, then really and truly monkeys, we can't compare ourselves to monkeys. Dolphins are smarter than monkeys, in my eyes anyways. The second stage would be to turn into an intergalactic or an interstellar civilization, where we don't just live on a single planet, we live in multiple planets all across either a solar system or a galaxy. Now, this would require massive amounts of energy that we could harness from like suns and stuff like that. But this is what is known as the hardest stage to hit. If we were to discover another alien race that is at that point, it would be bad news for us, because we know there is steps past this. And if there is intelligent life out there that is ahead of us, but they are still alive, that means they haven't reached the next challenge yet. And if they are technically more intelligent than us, then that means we still have so much. We have so much to get through. And I know this is a bit grim, but the Fermi paradox says that if we are below any sort of other civilization out there, we have little to no chance of surviving past the next evolutionary challenge. And so that's essentially the Fermi paradox in a nutshell. And so if we were to find this microbe, I guess it would be a good sign and a bad sign. It would be a good sign because it's a microbe. It's obviously not intelligent life, so we are way ahead of it. But it's a bad sign because we have yet to pass the next evolutionary challenge. Do I think we will? I don't know. It's certainly not going to be in my lifetime. Not in the next 100 years. I doubt it's even going to be in the next 500 years, seeing as the amount of energy required to travel, even just to the neighboring solar system, is absurd. It's like, just go look it up. It's insane how much energy is required to travel from one solar system to the next, let alone establish a civilization spread out among the stars. And I guess that closes our first topic. And moving on, we have giant squid caught on camera for the second time in history. This is a monumental event because giant squids, there's virtually nothing known about them. They're incredibly deep sea creatures. They exist at depths of about 750 meters and below. They're incredibly timid creatures, for good reason. And because they exist at such deep depths, then they don't spend a lot of energy going out exploring and stuff like that. So it's very, very difficult for us to observe them. And just, I guess this was yesterday. Yeah, this was yesterday. Dr. Eddie Witter, Dr. Sonk Jensen, and Dr. Nathan Robinson were basically on an expedition in the Gulf of Mexico, trying to basically explore and stuff like that, and they were actually trying to find some deep sea creatures, and one of them ended up being the giant squid. And it was spotted about 100 miles from Louisiana and Alabama, so it was pretty deep into the Gulf of Mexico. And it was spotted about 750 meters down, so this is like the midnight zone. No light is down there. Virtually nothing is down there except for giant squids, I guess. Now, the lead scientist of the mission, Dr. Eddie Witter, he was first in Japan when he saw the giant squid for the first time ever, using the same equipment, and that set not a world record, but it basically made it into the history books because giant squids are so exquisite and rare. Now, the goal of this entire research project wasn't necessarily to do research on deep sea creatures. There was a separate goal as well, and that separate goal was to raise awareness for climate change and its effects on deep sea habitats. And personally, I think it's working. I found my source here on CNN, and well, obviously CNN is pretty big, so this is big news, and I'm hoping that it can get shared and promoted because I'm a huge advocate for climate change. Not climate change, stopping climate change, I don't want to be 70 years old and having to breathe through an oxygen mask because, when I was 17 years old, I didn't do anything to help the earth, and I am going to blame, my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation for not looking out for the earth more. I mean, you obviously had your hippie groups and stuff like that, but nobody listened to them because they didn't see anything in the world going on. And, nowadays you actually see the results of what people were saying back in the 70s and back in the 80s. We have known this was going to happen for years, yet nobody did anything to stop it until recently. The Paris Agreement and stuff like that. Just now, we're starting to take action to try and stop climate change, and it's good that we're doing that. But at the same time, if we had started work on this kind of stuff 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we wouldn't be in this position where, we have large news outlets and political leaders, not naming any names, but they're claiming that climate change doesn't exist. And, my parents and my grandparents' generation are believing them. Yet we're literally watching coral reef systems get wiped out by bleaching and ocean acidification, and, the water levels around the world are rising. Literally, I read an article the other day about how the permafrost in the Arctic was melting. And that hasn't happened in over 500,000 years or something. It was before the last ice age that the permafrost had melted, and it wasn't supposed to melt for another 30,000 years until the next ice age, and we're literally melting. The permafrost, this is ground that has been frozen for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe even millions of years, and because of this, it's releasing more methane into the atmosphere, which is actually speeding up climate change. And it's absolutely terrible. I hate it. I hate the fact that this stuff is actually happening. But at the same time, it's kind of a wake-up call for our generation that we need to do something about this. We need to actually be proactive about saving our planet. Otherwise, we're not going to have a planet to save. And that is really depressing for me, because, when I have kids, when I have a family, I want them to be able to go out and play without worrying about the air quality and having to put on 200 SPF sunscreen because our ozone is destroyed. And it's truly a terrible sight to see, and I absolutely hate the fact that it's happening. But I'm glad that teams like this are going out there and doing projects in order to raise awareness for climate change. And they said this: love of nature is a stronger force for conservation than fear of doing the wrong thing. And I agree. I agree with that statement, because their goal was to show a creature that normally doesn't show itself. And obviously they obtained that goal, but in doing so, people fear what they don't understand. And now that we are finally understanding some of these things, some of these secrets that have been hidden away from us, we are able to sympathize with these creatures and with the environment around us, and it motivates us to do more. And I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy to see that. I just wish there was certain countries that would do more, certain political leaders that would do more. Not naming any names, but our neighbors to the south there aren't doing much. So, our next story is a completely different turnaround from the last two. A burglar, a Florida man who was convicted of burglary, was sitting in his trial on Friday, yesterday, when he essentially shit himself, took the shit out of his pants, and threw it at the judge in the courtroom. This is true monkey business. The man's name was Dorleans Philidor. He was 33 years old, and the judge was Lisa Walsh. Fortunately, it didn't hit Lisa, but it got all over the courtroom. Now, what he said after he threw it makes this a million times better. He said, "It's protein. It's good for you," before taking up a scoop of his own shit and eating it. Now, the reason why I said he was from Florida is because you see headlines all the time. Florida man did this. Florida man did this. Florida woman snorted 14 pounds of crack cocaine before eating a crocodile raw. You know, like, just stuff like that. They just... I feel like Florida people are absolutely crazy. But when it comes to Florida man is a single person. And this is not just my belief, this is fact. Florida man is a single person. I believe it is a spirit that travels between different Floridians, possesses them, and makes them do just the craziest shit you could ever dream of. And it always ends up in the headlines as Florida man. And I believe back maybe even in the 1800s, there was a person who was named Florida man. And Florida, I don't even know when Florida was named Florida, but for the sake of this story, we're going to say that at the time of Florida man's birth, Florida was not called Florida. It was just called man. And so when Florida man was born, they saw all the crazy shit he was doing, and so they decided to name the state after him. And that's why it's called Florida. And then when he died, his spirit haunts the state, and whoever lives in it is at risk for being possessed by him. And, well, we know what happens when Florida man possesses you. Now, what's even crazier is that the day before the incident, he was in his holding cell. So, what's this man's name? Dorleans Philidor. He was in his holding cell next to the courtroom, and apparently he did something very simple. He shit himself. He smeared it all over himself, and then he smeared it all over his cell. Now, I don't know what kind of sane person would do this, and the lawyers of the courtroom wanted to know if Philidor was faking a mental illness, so they got a doctor to evaluate him. Apparently, he is completely fine, but it doesn't make any sense for a completely fine person to shit themselves, throw it at a judge, and then the day before they had shit themselves, put it all over themselves, and put it all over their cell. It doesn't make any sense. And this is why my theory about Florida man works so well, because it's completely irrational to just shit yourself. Like, it doesn't even matter what you were convicted of. Just shitting yourself in general is something old people and babies do. And monkeys. And I'm not gonna lie, this man is a straight monkey. And I'm gonna find some more Florida man examples here. Florida man. Here. Let's find some more examples here. Look at it. I literally just searched up Florida man, and second result, Florida man throws feces at judge, says it's protein, it's good for you. Like, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. Okay, I found one here. We got Florida man on drugs, kills imaginary friend, and turns himself in. Like, what? Florida man tries to steal car from jail parking lot moments after being released for car theft. Florida man, police find nearly a dozen stolen zoo animals in Florida man's apartment. That is straight monkey business. That is literally the definition of monkey business, right? Actually, no, I'm sorry. This man throwing shit at other people, that's more monkey business, I would say. Florida man claims he only drank at stoplights and not while driving. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Cam Taylor, I'm gonna have to out you on this one. I feel like that's you right there. You just driving around, drinking at stoplights. so that if you get arrested, you know, you can testify. I wasn't drinking while Cam, that's you, alright? You can't even argue that one. Anyways, back to the story here. Apparently, the jury acquitted him. So they basically let him go free. They said he was innocent. Which is surprising. If I was on that jury, I would have been like, dude, a man who throws a shit definitely steals stuff. He definitely burglarizes. There's no way. He is not doing some kind of crimes out there. And surprisingly enough, he is still awaiting his trial for a Grand Theft Auto case. So, this man is a monkey. I'll put a picture of him up now, so you can see. Oh my god. He even looks... Okay, I'm not going to say that. Anyways, I saved myself there. So, a special announcement towards the end here. So, I've been trying to figure out how to work Audacity. This is what I use to record my podcast. I use Audacity, and I've been trying for months now, including the previous podcast. I've been trying to figure out how to record both your system audio and your microphone audio so that I could do Discord calls with the boys. You'll meet them soon enough, and we could actually discuss topics and stuff like that. It's been my goal for the past, I swear to God, 4 months to do this. And today, I am proud to announce I have finally figured it out. Next episode, I am incredibly excited to announce we are going to be doing, well, some substandard topics. We're going to be talking with the boys, and we're going to be talking about spiritualism. I guess that's really all I can tell you, because everything else is a surprise. I might as well leave that up for you guys to ponder. And with that, I bring you the end of episode 2 of the BBZ. This is BZ, signing off.